we're just discussing, Darren, interesting that, again, Keir Starmer didn't go on perhaps what would have been the obvious platform of today's strike action.
Yeah, interesting indeed. A proper ding-dong today, though, in many regards, Mark, wasn't there? Just on that note about, I'm sorry, I'm just going to pull out my earpiece because I hear myself back in my ear, which is never good. So I think in some ways, Mark, what I would say is the reason he didn't go on strikes for a large degree is I think in some regards they've already gone through this debate time and time again. This is not the first day of strike action, though it is a pretty big one. There was a march not terribly far away from me here in Westminster with thousands, tens of thousands of people on that march. And I think second of all, there is... Clearly it does hurt a little bit, doesn't it, that attack from the Conservative Party about being wedded to the union bosses, that Labour are part of that narrative. Maybe it is a little bit of an open goal for the Conservatives. Labour bring that up. But in the end, what Keir Starmer was trying to do today is to get through this message about the Conservative Party being marred in sleaze and that Rishi Sunak is no different from indeed his predecessors. And that is something that Labour really want to hammer home. We heard it today, not just on Nadhim Zahawi, but obviously those relations with Dominic Raab as well. And talking about Boris Johnson, it was notable, wasn't it, the language used in some of that, relating back that Rishi Sunak was trying to present himself as a new type of Conservative leader, a new Prime Minister who would be different from those beforehand. Labour trying to paint a very different picture. Though it must be stated that Rishi Sunak, against a pretty difficult corner that he found himself in today, did land some blows, not least of all on Rosie Duffield, and that sense that she feels that being inside the Labour Party is an abusive relationship. So all in all, I'd say a pretty feisty PMQs. The gloves definitely came off. Both of them scored goals. I would say in the end, actually, probably it was level pegging between the two leaders. But yes, I think many people will be surprised that maybe there was not enough talked about the strike action that's taking place today, given the fact it is having a massive impact on many, many people's lives. But as I say, Labour trying to hammer home this message around corruption.
Yeah, we'll just let you get your earpiece back so you can hear me, which, of course, won't be as interesting as hearing yourself. However, let's just reflect that, of course, Dominic Raab, the next big test, as we were hearing from Keir Starmer. What are we learning about where the Tolley investigation is and how long we'll have to wait on that?
Well, really fascinating this, isn't it? There are dozens now of separate allegations against the Deputy Prime Minister. And as always with politics, Mark, this is the concern, is that when there are further allegations, that the media spotlight, the pack, if you like, the herd, as Boris Johnson referred to it here at Westminster, shifts very, very quickly from Nadhim Zahawi. Yes, there's some hangover questions about what precisely the Prime Minister knew and when, but the focus is now really on the Deputy Prime Minister. Why is that even more tricky, I would suggest, for Rishi Sunak than the allegations surrounding Nadhim Zahawi? It's simply because Dominic Raab is incredibly close to the Prime Minister. He's the Deputy Prime Minister. He was part of the leadership team that was trying to get Rishi Sunak elected last summer. And these allegations have been swirling around for months and months and months. When do we expect this investigation to wrap up? We simply do not know. How long's a piece of string? And I say that because it seems that almost when we look like we're getting to the end, that new allegations seem to bubble up, that more people come forward, and that makes it very, very tricky indeed. Now, Dominic Raab denies these allegations. In fact, he mouthed today, as Keir Starmer was asking questions, that they were not true. He kept saying not true to them. But these allegations and these questions will persist, and you get a sense, don't you? And this is always... Prime Minister will talk about due process, of course he will, and we have to accept people are innocent until proven guilty, but you would not be surprised if we find ourselves here in a week's time, in 2 weeks' time, talking about another cabinet resignation.